Hey, how's it going? How's everybody doing? Just going to do another Tales from the Kitchen video. I haven't done one of these in a little while, and just because my new job, which I do enjoy, it's just getting a little bit lazy with the videos, unfortunately. And it's not that I don't want to do them; it's just I get so tired after work, just because I'm still getting used to the whole. Even though it's been 4 months, I'm not going to say I'm getting used to it, but I'm used to it. But just the whole 9 to 5 kind of thing that I haven't really ever done. So by the time I get home from work, which takes about an hour or so, I'm a little bit lazy feeling, I guess you could say. But anyway, this is going to be another Tales from the Kitchen, and this is going to be talking about a few chefs that I worked with in the past that, well, they're kind of losers or assholes. I mean, I've worked with a lot of chefs, and a lot of them were assholes. A lot of them were really nice guys. A lot of them were memorable. I did do one. I think my first Tales from the Kitchen video was about this guy Rudy that I worked with like forever ago, like 30, more than 30 years ago, I guess, 32 years ago when I was first starting out. And I don't know if you can hear that. There's an airplane flying overhead. It's my where I live in my neighborhood. It's right on the path the airplanes take when they're landing at Pearson International Airport or the Toronto Airport. For those who don't know what Pearson is, but yeah, it's like literally on their path when they land. So does occasionally get a little loud when there's a few coming in, one right after the other. But between that, the sirens, the shootings, and all the other fun stuff living in this neighborhood has become in the last years, it's pretty noisy. But oh well. I mean, it's Toronto, so I've been here 17 years, and for me to move somewhere else would just be ridiculously expensive. So I'm staying right put where I am, but it's okay. It's not really as bad as I make it sound. But anyway, if you want to hit that subscribe button, you want to hit a like, make a comment down below, I'm perfectly okay with that. I really enjoy the banter, and I just want to get up to 1,000 subs. But anyway, get my glasses on. That's what I look like. Okay, but you can probably hear that airplane. I don't know why. There just seems to be a lot of air traffic all of a sudden. Like it's usually not that bad. It's like crazy loud too. I don't know if you can hear. Now there's a motorcycle going by. You can probably hear the motorcycle. Get a lot of that too, especially at 3 o'clock in the freaking morning in the summer with all the sports bikes down the street. Like, and I'm not being a cranky old man because it's just I don't know. Maybe I'm being a cranky old man. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I've just eased into it so gradually over the last few years. I don't realize I'm a cranky old man. I still think I'm the young, cool guy that I was back in the day. Who am I kidding? I was never cool. But anyway, have a sip. That down. So 3 chefs that I work with. I just scribbled some notes from memory down. They're not really in any particular order, so I might be doing a little backtracking here and there. I'm going to start with the first one. This guy, I'm not going to drop his last name, but I will say his first name was Ali. I worked with this guy at a place called La Grota on Main. Now, I did mention that restaurant one time in a video I did called, I think the clickbait says, "Worst scumbag restaurant owners ever." And they were. It was Chris and Teresa. I have no problem saying that. They're assholes. But anyway, he was one of the chefs there, but anyway, yeah, he was just an idiot, I guess you could say. He knew he had his talents. He was good in terms of being a chef and cooking, but attitude-wise, yeah, he was kind of a douchebag, and to fix that. But anyway, like I said, I scribbled down a bunch of rough notes, so it's not really. It's just sort of might be kind of out of order. I'm just going to look at this really quick because, like I said, I was working all day and I was just too lazy to put this in any particular type of order. But anyway, this was one of these guys that liked to pretend he was hurt all the time. He was only 32 years old when I met him. I was like early 20s or something, 24, let's say 23, 24, in around there. But anyway, yeah, he was always pretending to be hurt just to get sympathy from people. And in the beginning, people kind of felt sorry for him. They're like, oh, is he all right? What happened? You know, that say to be, oh, I'm hurt. This and whatever. And then after a couple months, not even a few weeks, you sort of pick up on it that this guy's full of shit. A couple little examples I'll give you. We had this dishwasher. At the time, he was a young kid. His name was Vern. He's I think he's well in his 40s now. He's definitely in his 40s now. He's got a family, house. You know, actually did good for himself, and I'm really happy when I see him on Facebook and stuff. So, if you ever see this, Vern, good job. But I do occasionally might say hi to him or something, or comment on something he's posted, and vice versa. But anyway, how things were in the kitchen, we would hang all our pots and pans up above everything, and just so you could just pull them down instead of having to reach in various cubbies and things. Really good idea. And so one time, Vernie's hanging a pot up, and Ali's just kind of sitting like this at the edge of the counter, and the pan, he missed the nail, and it fell down, and we both saw it, and it went right past him. Didn't hit Ali at all. And Ali goes, oh, my head, oh. And he wasn't some skinny little guy. He was actually kind of a buff guy. Like you could see he was in shape and stuff. He wasn't some little pussy, but he was like, and always wanted people to feel sorry for him. And you were just looking at each other, we're shaking our heads, like just it was the funniest thing in the world. But just watching him carry on, you're a grown man. Like that's how you act, and you're a chef. Throw some balls like a chef. You know, another example of him hurting himself. There was one time there was a waitress there, a server there, and her name was Amy. And so what was happening is I'm on the line. Now on the line is where you cook, obviously, and then you have your window or your pass, which is where you put the food up, and then the server comes from the other side and takes the plates away and takes them out to the table or whatever. So she's on that side, and so is he. So he's just sitting there pretending his back's hurting. He's leaning on the butcher block, and she also knew she knew about his bull crap, and so he's sitting there like you could see the axe coming on. Oh, my back, and he's leaning, and he's standing. We had the butcher block on that side too. It's just the kitchen was shaped like a big U, but anyway, he's holding himself up, and then he pretends to, like his back gave out, and both of us turned at the same time to look away from him, and we're still talking to each other, but we're not looking at him at all. And then so he stands up, and then we turn straight again, and he does it again, thinking we didn't see him do it the first time, and then we just kept talking, and then he just stands up and walks away. It was the most ridiculous thing. And a third example of that is I used to ride my bike to work a lot, as I still do up until recent times, before this job. But yeah, I'd ride my bike to work, and we had a shed outside of the restaurant in the back, just in a section of the parking lot, and it had our freezers in it, a lot of dry goods, and it was all locked up at night. So I'm pulling in my bike. He doesn't see me, and I'm on one side of the parking lot. He's on the other, and garbage bins were on one side, and that's where I'd lock my bike up, and it was all an enclosed garbage area. So I put my bike in there rather, and I'm locking up, and he doesn't see me, and he's lifting up these big cases of tomatoes. Now these are the big cans that are about this big of tomatoes, big 6-pack, 6 of them in a case, which is pretty big case. It's pretty weighty. And like I said, he wasn't a little guy, so he's picking them up and he's throwing them up on the top shelf like nothing. And like I said, he doesn't know that I'm watching him, and I'm walking towards him at this point. And he turns, and as soon as he sees me, he literally picks up and goes, "Oh, can you put this away for me? Oh, my back, my back." And I said, I have to go to the bathroom or whatever. I made some excuse not to do it. So I'm watching him through the window, and he's shaking his head all pissed off, and he picks up the case again, just throws it up like no big deal. And it's like what is with this pretending to be hurt crap? You're a grown man. Nobody sympathizes with you. Nobody really likes you. But anyway, yeah, so didn't be hurt all the time. What else we got? Butcher block story, which I just said. Oh, we had another server there. I can't remember her name. She was a nice girl. She was foreign. I can't remember what country she was from, but she had like an accent, but she wasn't the brightest person. Not that the accent and foreign thing has really much to do with the story. It was just giving an added detail. But anyway, so the owner thought that they were seeing each other, like Ali, the chef, and this girl. This She wasn't like a kid. She was probably about 5 years younger than him and a few years older than me. But anyway, so I said, "Hey, so and so, Chris said that you two are dating or something." He lost it on me like it was my fault, and he starts insulting me and saying I'm stupid for saying that. And all I said was, "I'm just asking you a question." That's what he said. Why don't you ask him? Why are you talking to him that way? All I did was ask if what he said was true. All you had to do is say no. But like I said, he also wasn't the brightest person in the world. So he's sitting there insulting me for something I didn't even do. All I did was ask him a question. But anyway, he was one of these people that wanted to treat me like shit. He had to be the boss. And um, I don't know if it was an issue. I know that he was, I think he was Persian, and he used to talk shit about Canadian people. It's like, like Canada, then why are you in Canada? But whatever. But anyway, there was another guy there who was also Persian, who was a nice guy, and I got along well with him. But he didn't like the chef, but because they were both Persian, they out to Persian clubs together. And I used to bug the other guy, the nice guy. I would say, "Why do you hang out with him?" He goes, "Oh, I don't like him. He's just my drive. He's just my ride. We get to the club, I don't even talk to him. I say hi, I dance, and do this and this, and I don't have anything to do with him." But every time they go to the club, Ali would say how much of a good time they had and everything else, and they would always tell me these stories about, "Oh, I met this girl and I did this in my car and put it in here and put it in there and all this stuff." Every single week it was, a different girl, and I didn't believe him, first of all. And bear in mind, I didn't always look like this. I used to actually be kind of handsome. But with that being said, I know I can smell bullshit when people are telling these stories, because you can see it's all made up as they go. So I asked the other guy one time, I go, "So is this true?" And he goes, "No, they don't even talk to him." He tries to talk to him and they walk away. And so it's kind of funny when he told me that. So anyway, skip ahead a little bit. There was another cook there. His name was Raj, and Ali was leaving, quitting or whatever. So he appointed Raj, even though I was the sous chef, he still appointed Raj to be chef, and would always try and rub it in my face, but like, "Oh yeah, you're my chef. You're my chef. Don't worry. You make sure you teach this guy. This guy doesn't know anything," and blah 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 blah. And he's got his arm around him all the time. And I used to call his name was Raj, the other cook. I used to call him Ranch, and he could not. He didn't know I was calling him a different name, but everyone else did except for Ali, and they all thought it was the funniest thing. But anyway, yeah. One day Raj comes in. He's got his big neck brace on. And he said he was in a car accident. He can't work anymore. And then I see him with the neck brace off one day, and he's just doing this and put it back on. He didn't know I could see him. I was looking in through the window. I was outside. He was inside. It's like, what is with these idiots? But anyway, so Ali would be doing this stuff with this guy, saying, "Oh, you're going to be the chef," and this, trying to insult my ego. Personally, I didn't care, because it was just a job, and I didn't know how long. After so many years, I wasn't planning on staying there anymore because the owners were assholes and whatever. But anyway, I ended up quitting because of another chef that came in after Ali, who was even worse, and I'll get to him in a couple minutes. Um, I got hired by the original owner of that restaurant at another place, and this place was called Festa Ristorante. It doesn't exist anymore, and it was north of Toronto, a little town called Aurora. And I was, I'd known the owner for quite a few years at this point, because I worked at his other two restaurants he had in the past. So anyway, he hires me, and we made a good deal, and I was getting paid pretty good. And I come working one day, and Ali just happens to come in with a cake, and he doesn't see me yet. And I see him walk in, he puts the cake down. He's like, "Oh, hey guys, I brought this cake I made for you," and everything else. And then he looks at me and he sees me working behind the counter, and he goes, "You work here?" I go, "Yeah, I'm Frank's executive chef." And he just goes, "Oh." And he stormed out of the kitchen, didn't even say bye to Frank apparently, and just left. And I said to the cooks that were there, this guy Morgan, who's still a good friend of mine, and I says, "You come here a lot?" And they're like, "Oh, you know him?" And I go, "Oh yeah." And I didn't go into details then, but I did tell them later on about what kind of person he was. And they go, "Oh yeah, he comes in here all the time. Frank makes fun of him after he leaves. Yeah, he's kind of an asshole. He always brings food that he made, and he's trying to get Frank to hire him, but he won't." So that was my fu back to him in a way, like to attack his ego after he tried to hurt my ego, which he didn't. But I think about this douchebag. He used to claim he was an alcoholic, and he would get up chugging a bottle of vodka every morning before coming to work. And I can tell anybody who knows an alcoholic, they know an alcoholic. You can recognize an alcoholic if they're coming in reeking like booze and can't stand up, especially in a kitchen. But anyway, I guess enough about that. I'm going to go on to another chef. This is a couple years later. This is just shortly after I started going from private restaurants to corporate, where I went from being a manager, then I didn't want to manage anymore because I didn't like the way they treated their staff or how I was expected to treat the staff. So I just went and become a line cook. So this was a guy, I'm not going to say his last name, but his name was Richard. And he was just a complete arrogant douchebag. He was one of these spoiled rich kids that got, you can just tell by his personality, he got his way his entire life. So his name was Richard. If you pronounce his last name wrong, and he was a fat guy when he first started, to his credit, he did lose 150 pounds, but then I saw him a couple years later and he was a big fat guy again. Not that I'm body shaming, I'm fat myself, but it's just, you put all that effort into losing the weight just to gain it all back, but whatever. But if you pronounce his last name wrong, you could say he was Richard Alardass, which I like to say. Some people called him Dickie Dice because just the way his last name sounded, and Dick is another way of saying Richard. I used to like calling him Bitchy Richie. That was my name for him. But anyway, the reason I know he was a spoiled kid is because when I was working in Aurora, just by chance, he was actually the owner of a restaurant across the street just shortly after I left. And after I left, the owner sold the restaurant, and they all started working for him. And then I found out later, after working with him for a little while, that he was the owner of the restaurant across the street. So I started asking my former cooks and staff, or Frank's cooks and staff, because the owner of the restaurant, his name was Frank, what he was like. And they said, "Oh, he's just an arrogant, obnoxious, snobby douchebag." And yeah, okay, I see that. But he also was a serious suck up at work to all the head office people. It was just, "Oh, hey, buddy, how are you?" Shaking in their hands and everything else. And then he promoted the two people he can manipulate the most as his sous chefs and assistants, and they didn't know what they were doing. And then as soon as he left and the new chef came in, he didn't fire them, but he demoted them back because they couldn't do it. They were just there to be his little lapdog, so to speak, and the new chef wanted actual cooks. And he asked me, and I was like, "No, I don't want to manage." But a couple little things. One time I was talking to somebody and saying, "Oh, I haven't made this little money in a long time." And he goes, "I can change that and make it lower." Like he shouts it from the office. I'm just like, "Let's go stand over here where it's less obnoxious." And he didn't say anything about that. He also didn't care about his staff. There was a kid that they hired. I can't remember his name. He was only there for a day, and I don't know what was wrong with him. I don't know if he had health issues or whatever, but he kept fainting. And it was a little bit busy, and he was just there training. He wasn't actually doing any hands-on stuff. And he's standing there, and I'm doing something. I look, this kid, he's gone. And then I look down, he's on the floor, I'm like, holy shit. And I pick him up. "You okay?" He goes, "Yeah, oh, I must have slipped or something." "You all right?" So he goes, "Yeah, yeah." And I go, "You sure you slipped? Because I don't know, you look kind of out of it." And then he's, "Okay, no, I'm fine." So I'm working and I'm showing some stuff, and the kid starts, and I'm just like, "Oh shit, this kid's gonna faint." And I waited, and sure enough, he's just like, and I caught him. Good thing he was skinny. He was like tall, like really skinny guy, and I caught him, and I'm easing him down to the floor, and he's still looking at me, but you can tell he's not with it. And I felt really bad at the last minute as I'm this close to the floor, just lowering him. He goes whack and smacks his head off the floor. It's, ooh, that must have fucking hurt, and I'm sorry that happened. But I'm calling the chef. I'm like, Richard, this guy. And he goes, I'm busy. There's a kid lying on the floor here. He keeps fainting, man. He goes, I don't care about that right now. I don't care. I'm like, the kid needs a doctor. Like I'm trying, like, or he needs medical help, or whatever. You got to get him an ambulance or something. He's like, it can wait. It can wait. I'm just like thinking, holy shit, you're putting strangers' food ahead of this of a human being lying on the floor. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? And then after that, he comes storming over. What's the problem? And by then, the kid's sitting up again, and he starts to go again, and they end up, they couldn't obviously hire him because whatever his issue was, that's not safe, obviously. But he was mad at me. The chef was mad at me, bitchy Richie, for wanting to help this kid more than put out the stupid food that I don't care. The customers can wait. The guests can wait. There's someone that could be dying in front of us for all we know. We don't know what's happening right now. But he didn't. He didn't care. He was just like, oh, I gotta look good for my bosses so I can get a promotion or I can get a raise. That's more important than a human life, in my opinion. Let's see. Our GM there's a guy. His name was Rob. He was in his mid-50s at the time, and he was a little creepy and a little in the pedo department, but not quite. As soon as the young guys, he was gay, and as soon as the young staff, the little younglings, would turn 18, boom, hitting on them, inviting them over to the bar, buying them drinks, trying to get them to go home with. It's like, dude, you're 55, they're 18. You're the general manager. And I don't know whatever happened to him after that. I know he wasn't there anymore, but I don't know if he got fired or quit or whatever the situation was. But yeah, he was kind of a pig, and he was good friends with the chef. Anything else here? Oh, one time the chef called me useless because we were out of something that he didn't order, or whoever was doing the ordering didn't order, which would have been him, and said I was useless because of that. Anything else? Kid feigning, promoting, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's probably it about him. I know this is just more of a rant, and I could have put a little bit more organization in this, but like I said, I was sleepy. Anyway, this is the last chef I'm going to talk about. His name was Franco, not the Frank that owned the other restaurants, but another guy who was a complete homophobic, racist douchebag. Let's see. He was always starting fights with the staff. Now, he wasn't a big guy. He was about a little bit taller than me, but he was always just literally trying to start physical altercations with the staff, me. There was a guy, Stefano, who was like a 18-year-old kid. Now, this guy, Franco, he was about 33, 34 at the time. And this kid, I don't know, they're arguing. This kid grabs him, and Franco's holding on to him. And I don't know where he learned to fight, but he's trying to hammer fist him. Well, this kid, Stefano, is just picking up and slams him into the wall and told him to leave him the F alone. Story about that. But yeah, he was, we hated him. He was always making racist comments. Most of the staff weren't white in the kitchen. And, he didn't care. He was calling the Sri Lankan guys, we'll just say the PAK word. You can take it from there. Super homophobic guy. He would always, but he'd always be singing Queen songs. And I told him one day that, you do know that the singer for Queen was very openly gay. And, no, he was not, blah, blah, blah. Using a certain F word. He wasn't one of them. And this, I go, he was pretty openly gay. So we used to tease him all the time, and he had like a little triangle of hair on the back of his neck here that we always used to tease and go, so if you're so hateful gays, and we used to, now, I'm not homophobic. I got lots of gay friends. I hang out in the village. Go to drag shows all the time. So don't get offended and have me canceled. But you call, say, why do you keep that little fag tag? That's what that's called. The little triangle on the back of your neck. Yeah, it's a big attractive thing for gay men. And he's like, well, I can't help that, blah, blah. I'm just saying, most guys shave it off. I shave mine off, And needless to say, a couple days later, we noticed he didn't have it anymore. So it was kind of funny. But yeah, he used to steal all my stuff. One time I had a necklace that I got from my girlfriend at the time. And I had it for years, and I took it off because it would get itchy. And I always put it up on top of the line. And then one day it just disappeared. And a couple other things disappeared that I'd left behind. I had my own cup. And then one day my basketball that I brought in disappeared, but I found it. And he's, I was just hiding it as a joke. And I'm like, Right. What else? There's one time he this was really funny. It was really attacked his ego a little bit, but he was walking, he slipped on the floor and went flying underneath the dishwasher, and he's lying there and he's trying to get us to help him. We're just pointing and laughing at him, and he was so like swearing and this and that and whatever. But there was what else did he do? Oh yeah, we used to get our uniforms supplied for us. So everybody that wore a uniform, we would just take ours home, and he never figured out why. But the reason is that we didn't have specifically assigned uniforms. It was just by we all basically wore the same size, so we would take ours for the week, take them home, and then we proceeded to put his in the sink at the end of the night. Usually on the days we'd be closed Monday, so Sunday nights, and he wasn't there Sundays. We would pee on his uniforms, hang them back up, and then he'd be wearing them, and you could smell it. It was, and he didn't even notice it. It was the funniest thing. Just walking around, we're all like, I know it's gross, but oh, he was a douchebag. There was after he started, before he was there, and I was actually the chef for a while. Not that I wanted to be in that particular restaurant. I did a whole video about that as well. Same video I was talking about earlier. Um, Everything we made was in house, like meatballs, dressings, everything. When he showed up with all his skills and talent and his and you know experience, he started buying everything at um, that big store where you buy big giant things this big, whatever it's called. It'll come to me later. But the meatballs, all the dressings, everything came from the store. All of a sudden, big jugs of it. It's like, what happened to making it in house, like a real fine dining restaurant, you know? And the owner, oh, it saves money and this and that. And I go, all right, well, you're giving people the same thing they have in their freezer at home, but whatever. I didn't care at that point. Oh, another thing we did too, going back a little bit, is every day we'd put oil on the floor right where he worked, and he'd be walking. Why is it always oily and greasy over here? And he'd sliding around. It was so funny. Um, and there's a guy, Perrin, that worked there. Really nice guy. He was Sri Lankan guy, and Franco would be making all kinds of racist comments to him all the time, and it was really ignorant. Until one day, Perrin just got him left. But Perrin was a really nice guy, and even back then, I haven't talked to him in 25 years. But he even got me when he left. He got me a pen set, which I still have. It has his name and his fiance. I guess it's his wife now, assuming they're still together. Got me this pen and pencil set, which I still have because I really appreciate it. So I took care of it. It has my name. It says Roy. That's my real name, not Jack, but and Perrin and Vino, which is which I guess that was his fiance's name. So yeah, I still have that. It was a great gift. Um, so anyway, when I was leaving this restaurant, I gave my notice. I had enough of his shit. But what happened before that is I was in the kitchen. I'd get there before him usually, start setting things up. And we had a cook there. I can't remember her name. I think her name was Amy or something. Different Amy than the one I was talking about. To same restaurant, different Amy. But and she was a dishwasher, made salads and stuff. And she always came in as later on Tuesdays saying, yeah, this was a Tuesday. We come in later on Tuesday. And he comes in, where is she, yelling, screaming at me like it's my fault. And I told him, I go, no, you said to come in at this time. I never said that. And I go, she always comes in at that time, half an hour later than what he thought. And he's trying to get in my face. And I took an insert about this big, and I just picked it up and I slammed it down on the counter. And I said, you want to back up, or do you want to do something about this or whatever? And it was just me and him in the restaurant. And Mr. Tough Guy all the time, suddenly he just went white and he ran out of the kitchen like a big coward. Now, I'm not a big tough guy. I don't claim to get into fights or beat people up, but it was just funny watching him just turn around and run out of the restaurant, or out of the kitchen anyway, to get at me. And then he sat out in the dining room, waited for the owner so he could tell on me. And then, so I was just like, and told the owner the story, but the owner, because this guy was making the money, the owner was Chris, making the money, I'm always the bad guy. So I just came in the next day, threw my notice down and said, done. I still gave him the 2 weeks because I gave him a month, to be honest. I'd been there 6 years, but I just wanted enough time for me to get a job, and I didn't stay the whole month. I found a job. I got hired someplace as a manager, and never went back to this place again. Only once I did because they owed me a paycheck. But anyway, I think that might be about it. I quit Big Chicken, Catholicism. Oh yeah, he was always talking about Catholicism and Catholic this, Catholic that. And if you're Catholic, you're Catholic. I don't care. Most of my family is either Catholic or Christian. I'm personally an atheist, but that's just me. But I don't care. But I don't need to hear about it constantly. And that's also, he was insulting the other staff there because a couple of them were Muslim, a couple of them were Hindu. And just putting them down all the time because they come in from the temple with the pollen on their forehead, and he'd be insulting, saying how stupid it is and whatever. But that's just his ignorance. Yeah, I think that's about it. I could have went into more detail, but this video is also getting a lot longer than I thought. That was going to be about a 20-minute video at best, but here we are, half an hour. So, hey, my throat's dry. I should have got water instead of this. But if you stayed and watched the whole thing, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I really need some water. And if you want to subscribe, I know this wasn't the most exciting video. It was more me just talking. But I like to tell some of these stories. They're not super exciting, but for people that do work in kitchens, some of them can relate. And if you got a relatable story, comment below, and I will definitely, absolutely get back to you because I do like the banter. And like I said, if you want to subscribe, like, and do all that fun stuff, I'm not monetized, as you know. I just want to get up to 1,000 subscribers. Just a small little accomplishment for myself. I'd really appreciate that. And aside from that, I'm holy crap, I'm going to be starting to do more. Trying to get back into doing the more movie videos and stuff that I used to do in the past, ranking movies and things like that, as opposed to just talking about my toys and things that I've bought and unboxing things like that I do enjoy doing. But I want to get back to my original plan for the channel was. So anyway, before I die here because I can't talk, thank you for watching, and until the next one, bye.